I'm going to record it this time.
Oh,
Yeah,
girl.
you should do that.
Yeah.
You better do that.
I've
Do
only been doing this for 231 episodes.
Dude, all right, we recorded. We good. Hit the button, Bob.
Let's go!
Randy Candy, whatever. Whatever. Oh, my Lord. It's so early.
I feel
Y'all
different.
talk about clowns. Quit clowning, y'all.
Good pull, Bob.
Thanks. Had to reach for that one.
Yeah, man. You did it. You really did it.
How long is this damn intro? Still going.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another rousing episode of Straight Chilling. My name's Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 231, recorded on Sunday, September 8th, 2019. Tonight, we're going to be talking about It Chapter 2. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from somewhere else just outside of Chicago, Randy Gandy G. Landy.
What up, everybody? I'm trying to amp up my
Everybody.
introductions. You guys have such dope introductions. Can we do a Macho Man Randy Savage intro theme song for me from now on?
Dude, why don't you
I
do,
don't know
yeah,
what
do like your
song.
wrestling intro. You're like the wrestling
Oh,
guy.
yeah. That's not his. I don't know. I'm making that up.
It's your boy, Randy the Cream G. Landy. Ooh.
I don't think I have the chops to do a work in the voice of Randy Savage, but maybe I could intro to the Ric Flair theme or something. We'll figure it out, guys. We're still workshopping this show. 200
Step into a Slim Jim.
episodes on in. So
This show is brought to you by Slim Jims. Last but not least, also, not also calling in, but just calling in from Southern Korea. We got our boy Soju. What's up, Soju?
What up? It's your boy, Typhoon Stains again. It's that time of year, Bob. Little did you know. When you were on
Did
your
you get
way
another typhoon?
Yeah, when you were on your way to Oz, I got a typhoon as well.
Damn, dude.
I know.
So much angry water and wind. And
Wind is blowing. Wind is blowing. Typhoon Ling Ling came through.
Ling Ling.
Ling Ling, baby.
Ling Ling.
I survived the
name-
Ling Ling.
Do you guys name your typhoons via the alphabet? Or is it just kind of you grab random names that haven't been
I
used
honestly
before?
have no idea.
Okay.
Ling Ling sounds Chinese, so I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody named it. Somehow.
Somebody did
Okay.
it.
Gotcha.
we done it.
Gotcha. Hurricane Dorian just sounds like a nerd.
Well, you
Nerd.
Get out of
watch
here.
Scrubs enough to know.
Get out of here, nerd.
Dorian? No, it sounds like some punk ass goth kid who's like a cooter guy.
Whoa, hey, let's not go after our bread and butter
Yeah.
there.
Well, no,
It reminded
I'm,
me.
I'm talking like
Hot Topic
cooter
Kings
guy.
love us. It reminded me of Dorian Gray from
yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
from
Good.
Penny Dreadful, who
Yeah.
is the
Well,
cooter of that show.
That's
also from
exactly what I was
literature?
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah, from
We could also-
classic literature. Yeah,
but that way that guy
specifically-
But
portrays
also from the
him.
movie.
yeah, Cooter King, Dorian.
Real smooth intro
Yeah, it's-
here.
Yeah, real smooth. It is bizarre. The last big hurricane that came towards us was 2 years ago when It Chapter 1 came out. So it's every time a damn It movie's released, we got to deal with the hurricane.
Mhm. Floating and whatnot.
Florida was pretty lucky though. Florida was
Floating.
pretty lucky. We all float in Florida, don't we?
We're very buoyant people.
We're full of shit. Shit floats. Everybody knows that.
Everybody.
Let's go ahead and get into a little bit of housekeeping real quick. So the September poll pick officially closed. We have the winner, which was The Craft. So we're gonna be talking about The Craft here.
Whoa,
What was the
So yeah, Justin picked that. If you couldn't tell. Shaboy.
Dude,
so we
two
got-
wins in a row. I'm on a hot streak, Mr. Hot.
All right. Mr. Hotcakes is on
Mr.
his
Hotcakes.
squeaky. Yes, he is. So we
Damn.
got the October.
It's a concerning
thing.
voice.
A little passive aggressive over there.
I don't know how passive it was. The October poll pick is up currently, so if you support us on our Patreon side at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this October, the theme of which is going to be classic slashers. And the 3 movies up there are Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, none of which we've done a show on somehow. So we're going to talk about one of those here.
Skirting some responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see if your boy Soju can go for three in a row.
Texas Chainsaw is currently winning the show.
That seems like a good choice.
I don't know if
I know we do.
Yeah.
The one that wins is mine.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yes.
Yeah. Faux show. Also, a big thanks to everybody that signed up for the You Pick the Flick tier. That went live last Sunday, and the 5 spots got snatched up like pretty much immediately. So big thanks to Hydraberg, Alex, Michael, Jose, and Miles for snatching those. And we'll be talking about your movies here over the next few months. Big thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for
appreciate it, guys.
G-Baby was talking about it. We did the Twitch stream this week, and he was like, I just slept in like 30 minutes, and I missed it. He's on the West Coast.
Yeah. They went like literally immediately, like real quick. You gotta be on it. Don't sleep, G-Baby. Don't do it. Also, we got a brand new Patreon supporter, so we got to give a big straight chilling salute to our new supporter, Jackie B. This one's
we gotta do
you.
a salute. I agree.
We got
slapping the ass or whatever. Okay.
Oh, we're slapping the ass.
You know what? I really respect, Juice, your total and complete buy-in to the slap your ass.
Yeah.
Dude, I am all in.
Thank you for being there for your boys.
You don't have to convince me.
To slap a devil in the ass.
This is really quickly turning into the passive-aggressive episode. That's the theme.
You don't have to explain anything to me about, slapping some ass.
It's a pretty obvious joke.
Please don't explain it.
It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure all of our listeners understand it.
I mean, we've explained it on the show.
Good senses of humor. So,
yep. Everybody is on board with this gag.
I don't mind that it happens. I just feel like I don't want to be associated with it.
That's how I feel about this whole podcast.
All right, spaghetti stains.
I just want it clear that I had no part in it.
Really big into taking credit and shying away for credit. Just the Juice way.
The Juice way. Do we have any YouTube or Twitch news there, Justin?
Yeah, September, we have started a new game on Twitch. We are playing Dead by Daylight. It is another game we've been playing with some of the listeners. On Xbox, it's got a variety of killers. You can either play as the killer, where you have to kind of hunt people down, or you can play as a survivor, where you try to escape. It's a smaller crew than the Friday the 13th gig, which had like up to 9 people. This one has up to 5 total, including the killer. But it was fun. I played with G-Baby and Hydraberg last week, and we were just kind of getting the basics down, the survivor skills and stuff like that. None of us played the killer yet, so we'll probably try to hop into that tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to watch us play live, you can. If you want to hit us up on the Slack, we've got like a spot left, I think. If you wanted to play on Xbox, you could play with us. And it was pretty fun. It's got more to it than Friday the 13th. There's more, like, you can upgrade more. There's more people to choose from. Each killer has their own kind of like special abilities and stuff like that. So you kind of have to test it out a little bit. But it was fun. So check us out there. And today we will be doing a poster giveaway. or for this movie. So for this cast, this is a new movie, came out in Korea, so I got some of those Korean posters. If you would like to enter this poster giveaway for a It poster, you can go to the behind the scenes video, which I'll be posting up as soon as it's as we're done with the cast. And hang on, let me throw the poster up here on YouTube. Go to the behind the scenes. You can see now, here's the It poster that you are entering to win. And
Really not breaking the bank on it. No.
yeah. All you got to do, give us a like, give us a comment on the video. The comments is where I will choose a random name. So however many comments are on there, that's how many people have entered. And I'll choose a name next week on our next week's podcast, and I'll ship you a poster if you win. So yeah, poster giveaway. Get on it.
Nice. All the way from Korea. Coming at you.
All the way from Korea.
Korea. Cool. So yeah, I think that's about all we got for our housekeeping. Let's talk about what we've been watching this week. Yo, Brain, what you been watching?
Okay, so I have been working through Glow season 3, which is excellent, and I am every time I watch that show, like I kind of forget how good it is between seasons. It's a good fucking show. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I also got the chance to watch both our movie today, It Chapter 2 and It Chapter 1, in a back-to-back drive-in theater experience, which was excellent, and it was a lot of fun, despite the fact that we were not privy to the fact that we should have brought our own radio so as not to drain our car battery. So we kind of like had to bogart off other people's devices they were playing the sound on and stuff, but it was great though. It's at the McHenry Outdoor Theater in McHenry, Illinois. I believe it's McHenry, Illinois.
Cool.
Anyway, so it was great. About 3 a.m. last night we got home. So
damn.
You can't
I was about to say, dude,
drive
that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of it.
It was actually sold out. They said they had record numbers of people there for that double feature, and it sold out, which was at least 200 cars, which equates to about, I don't know, 500 people at least. And there were people out there.
The drive-in will never die!
Like, this is the first time I've been to a drive-in since, like, for my birthday in, like, when I was, like, 7. So I don't remember the specifics. I don't remember people, like, straight up, like, tailgating like it's fucking Gator Bowl and that shit. Like, people were grilling, had just giant things. Like they had 40s out there and stuff. You can bring in your own food and drink. It was great. A lot of fun. I also realized that I had about 200 things backlogged on my watch later on YouTube. So I watched some of the following. An entire American Horror Story timeline. I watched some Nerdwriter videos. I watched some videos by Pushing Up Roses, Lindsay Ellis, and Captain Disillusion, which is new to me, actually, even though he's kind of a big deal. Yesterworld and Defunctland, watched a bunch of stuff from them. The Royal Ocean Film Society, watched some stuff from them. Dr. Udru, one of my faves, I've brought it before. Nightmare Expo, also brought them up before. I watched all that stuff and more just while I was working. I let that stuff roll. And I whittled it down from like 150 videos to like 12, so I feel pretty proud of the amount of fucking free content I put into my brain while I was working.
Damn, Randy.
Other than that, I got the new Banjo-Kazooie character on Smash. It's fun. It's very much a blast from the past.
Did you lose your shit when you played
I ripped off all my clothes, stamped my hand, and smeared it on all the walls because I was so happy. No, cool. It was great. It's a lot of fun. I probably would have appreciated it more when I was a child and it was relevant to me in a much more deep way. But I love it now, too. It's good nostalgia throwback. The music's great. The character's fun. And that's probably the last thing I'll say about Smash ever.
Cool. Justin, what you been watching?
I'm trying to get into the spooky season, just watching some more horror things. I can't barrel through it like you guys do sometimes with your Bob's Blu-rays and whatnot.
Don't let me begin with this.
With your Bob's
Randy,
guys.
My name is Randy or something. It's not Bob. It's definitive.
Randy's YouTube rays.
One of them that I was watching, there's a couple that I've started but haven't finished, but the one that I have finished was Hush. I went through Hush, and it It was interesting. I do like, like You're Next and The Strangers, so like that kind of break and feel. This one was a little tedious to me. It was old Flanagan. He did it, and he did okay. That's probably actually like my least favorite Flanagan thing that I've seen, probably, just off the top of my head. But it was all right. So I watched that. I also watched The Royal Tenenbaums again, and it's been a while since I've seen that one. That's like definitely one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies.
Never loved it.
Oh, really? Huh.
It's
I
great.
don't know. I really like that one. It's definitely up there for me. And so, yeah, a little mix of horror, little mix of charm, which I think is appropriate for the fall season. The temperature's dropping here. Old Ling Ling brought the cold air, and I don't know. Got the hoodies rocking. It feels good. That fall season, it's here. Woo.
Yeah. I watched a little movie that just dropped this weekend that was written and directed by none other than Limp Bizkit's frontman, Fred Durst.
Yeah, boy.
Chebo. Fred.
The movie's called The Fanatic.
Oh Lord, I can't tell you how glad I am to hopefully never talk about this movie again. I feel like we have talked about this movie so much on this podcast, it's ridiculous. So I hope
you are tempting fate right now.
Yep.
Somebody will pick that in the next round.
Possibly. I hope this is the end of it, but
bound.
We'll see.
So this movie is starring Devon Sawa and John Travolta. It's on VOD currently. I rented it. I rented it off Amazon. So this movie is loosely based on a true story that happened to Fred Durst. It's basically about somebody who is stalking a movie star and played by Devon Sawa. And Devon Sawa is like this action/horror movie star, and John Travolta is. It's not like explicitly stated in the movie, but he definitely seems like he's on the spectrum somewhere, slightly autistic or something in this movie. So he doesn't. He has a difficulty like relating to people or interacting with people. He's kind of just got like one good friend in this movie, and anyway, Travolta tries to go get an autograph from Sawa one evening, and he fails to get one, so he finds this like little app that shows you where celebrities live, and he goes and finds Devon Sawa's house and like starts to stalk him and like breaks in, and shit just kind of escalates from there. And it's like John Travolta really leans into the role, and there's several scenes that are like pretty comedic, but all in all, I like when the movie's over, I just felt like sad. I felt really sad for John Travolta. And that was about it.
Because he chose to do this movie?
No, I felt sad for his character.
Oh, his character. Okay, because you specifically feel like John Travolta.
I did, yeah.
I felt that way after I watched Old Dogs too. Yeah, it's pretty.
Dude, Battleground Earth.
Oh, Battlefield Earth.
Or Battlefield Earth.
I'm a man. I don't remember the shit, but that voice in that is so funny.
So was it good, Bob?
It was better than I anticipated. I will say, like, for the first half of the movie, I was on board. I was like, this is not a bad movie. I'm kind of down with it. And then it kind of, like, it's sort of one note, and the ending is just not much of an ending, and it's just a bummer. Like, it's just sort of a straight kick to the dick right at the end of the movie, and you're like, that's, like, what are you really trying to tell me here? Like, sometimes people are just fucking crazy, and sometimes other people are just assholes.
Yeah,
and that's
that's real.
like what's the fucking point of this movie? Like Fred Durst is just like some people
not
go
the point
crazy.
Of every Limp Bizkit album.
There was a shameless Limp Bizkit plug where Devon Sawa was like driving in the car with his kid, and he's like, "Let's put on some music. You want to hear some Limp Bizkit? Let's put on some Limp Bizkit." And you just like
Limp Bizkit is the greatest band you'll ever hear, and you should purchase them when you are old enough. Son, I named you Fred for a reason.
There's a narrator in this movie. It's sort of loosely sprinkled throughout it. It's not like overly done. But like John Travolta's character keeps going back to this celebrity's home, and the narrator's like, sometimes when you find the cookie jar, it's just impossible not to go back. And I was like, You know, Fred Durst with his fucking cookie metaphors. Like, I was just waiting for someone to go, Nookie! Like, yeah, I don't know. It was cracking me up a little bit. Painfully written by Fred Durst. All in all, better than I thought it was going to be, but not great. I also revisited the remake of The Hills Have Eyes movie.
Oh, Bob.
Did you finish it this time?
I did finish it. I had to do it in 2 sittings, actually.
Oh, damn.
But I got through it. So the reason I got kind of curious about it is because Nicole, our friend Nicole from Chiaroscuro podcast, if you haven't checked her show out, please do. She's like us, but she's like smarter and does a better job at her stuff.
More elegant.
So
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so one of our more recent episodes was called Fallout, and it was just themed about like nuclear waste and it like harming people and like affecting people in real life and also in fantasy. So one of the things she talked about was this remake of the Hills Have Eyes movie, and I'd never been able to finish it because there's a really difficult like rape scene in the middle of the movie, and I just don't care for that kind of stuff. She spoke pretty highly of the movie though, and I respect her opinion. I was like, well, let me check it out. So I've managed to get through it, and like when you get to the movie, there is more of a point to it. I don't know like how like deep it really is, and I still don't know if like the juice is worth the squeeze, but I'm glad that I got through it at least, and I can formulate an opinion on it.
It's an interesting turn of phrase. I do believe somebody's head pops in this movie.
Yeah. It's a hyper violent movie for sure. But yeah, I don't know. The nerd guy, he does it right in the end. So like, whatever.
Well, thank God.
Spoiler.
Nerds.
Nerd rage. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching. Talked about Fred Durst enough for one day.
Yes, we have.
Yes. Let's go ahead and get into the main event. Talk about It Chapter 2. Start off with the back of the box. Here we go. What's on the back of the box? So this little movie, right, Shaw, was directed by Andy Muschietti, who also wrote and directed the first movie based off the Stephen King novel. The synopsis is as follows. 27 years after their first encounter with the terrifying Pennywise, the Losers Club have grown up and moved away until a devastating phone call brings them back to Derry. Nikes. So, first impressions of this movie there, gentlemangs. Were you excited to watch this going into it, and would you recommend people check it out in the movie theater? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I wasn't above and beyond excited just because the first one I had some qualms with. But yeah, I would recommend that people see it. Like, this is kind of at this point, this is more than like a flash in the pan, culturally speaking. This is a big horror movie. So if you're a horror fan and you don't bother seeing this movie, you're kind of fucking up. just in a cultural standpoint.
Damn.
I think it's worth watching on its own merits in the theaters. The visuals are pretty good. Yeah, check it out.
Cool. Juice, what about you?
I actually really liked the first one, and some of the problems that people had with it, I didn't. And even so, like, I rewatched it not too long ago on one of my flights earlier this year, and thought like, oh, this actually held up pretty well. I still really enjoyed it and like the aspects of it. And so if you are like me and you enjoyed the first one, then you like gotta see the second one. But I will say that going into leaving the second one, I was like kind of disappointed and confused. This is a weird movie and it's long, and I ended up seeing it in IMAX, which somehow hurt the experience, I think. So I don't know, I'm a little conflicted on this movie. I don't think it followed up the first one very well, and it's strange, but it's kind of like you guys are saying, like you're almost like obligated to see it. Like if you enjoyed the first one, you kind of want to wrap up the story and stuff like that. But so you're probably gonna see it anyways. But I don't know. As a fan of the first one, I'm like conflicted on whether to recommend the second one or not. Honestly.
Yeah. I was like pretty excited to check this movie out. I thought the first trailer that came out for this, where you kind of you get a glimpse into like the grandma, the creepy grandma in the movie. I thought that was just a great trailer. It got me really amped for this. And I think overall I did enjoy it, and I think it's worth checking out in the movie theater, especially if you like the first one. The cast of this movie is just fucking through the roof. They all do a pretty great job. It does have its issues, which we'll get into, but just generally speaking, I would say definitely check it out. It's a long one. It's a long haul, almost 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So bring your catheter with you. Check this out.
Okay.
Yeah, I recommend it. Let's go ahead. We're going to drop that spoiler warning and get into this mamma jamma. Here we go. All right. Spoiler warning. You've been warned. So I think, just real quick, run down the cast, because damn. So you got Beverly Marsh, all the adult versions of these kids. Beverly Marsh played by Jessica Chastain. We got Bill, played by James McAvoy. Richie, played by Bill Hader. Mike, played by Isaiah Mustafa. Ben, played by Jay Ryan. Eddie, played by James Ranson. And Stanley, played by Andy Bean. And, of course, Pennywise is Bill Skarsgård, who does a great job. I don't know. I think this movie just, has so much it needs to overcome. Just from the get-go. Much like the original, like the miniseries, because there's so much that you have to cover in this movie. It's you're almost working uphill in a way, because you gotta get everybody back to Derry. They all have to remember what they experienced as kids. They all have to get on the same page. You have to figure out how to defeat it. They all have to break up and get their little tokens separately, and they have to come back together again and actually fight it. There's just so much ground to cover it that it's
I guess, but
hard
even
to do.
For this movie does not need to be 3 hours long. And even you saying that it there's a lot of ground to cover makes it seem like it does need to be 3 hours, and it doesn't, because when you're describing those sections, they need to find their tokens. When I think about the scenes of them finding their tokens, a lot of it is very throwaway, or doesn't feel substantial. This is the quest that we're on. It literally is mentioned. There's a couple just info dumps in here, and then it took me a while to realize oh, that's what they're doing. They're finding their tokens. But then some people just find them oh, here's my thing. I don't know, a lot of it doesn't feel substantial. One even gets their token from it. Bill,
Bill, yeah.
It hands him his token, the thing he needs to use to defeat.
I was peeing during that scene. That's the only scene I missed. Yeah. I didn't.
You don't have to be that bummed.
Yeah, it's just. So I don't agree that it has a lot to necessarily overcome. I know there's some really obscure stuff that they try to handle.
I wish
in this movie. I don't know.
For me, the token thing, I understand what they're trying to do, make a video game, but that whole thing, my biggest issue with it is that it turns out to be completely pointless in the end. There is no point to any of those scenes that lead to anything later on, except to have them remember stuff that leads us to some spooky moments, which, granted, I think most of the moments that we get from them searching for their tokens, the spooky moments, are fun and worth the squeeze in this movie, I think, on their own merit. But just story-wise, it seems oh, we got to go split up. And even in the movie, they're well, that's fucking dumb. And then they're yeah, but we gotta. And then it turns out that they literally do not gotta. So, I think that, narratively, it doesn't make any sense to be there, except to just give them more chances to be alone and scared.
It is kind of problematic that in the big climax of the movie, they finally defeat it by just yelling at it and calling it a clown. You big dumb clown.
So here's
You
the
big
thing
old
about
bitch.
that. You're just a clown.
Yeah,
I know, I
just a
present
little
it.
bitch.
Just a little bish. But no, he the thing about that is I think that as weird as that was, especially just to watch it visibly go down that way, it's actually not terribly different from, I mean, it is different. It is significantly different from how it's done in the book, but it's not so different. What I'm trying to get at is that I actually think it's a little slight improvement over how it's done in the book.
Wow.
I do like in the book, if I remember right, what happens is there's, huh? Yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. We'll get to that. But the way it's defeated is like Richie tells some jokes and it pulls it off its guard, and then they are able to kill it and all of its eggs. And that's it, really. Like they like go into this like sort of like cosmic whirlwind situation. It's just him and Bill too. It's not even all of them, and they like. And Richie like tells it jokes, and that's somehow a weakness. So rather than telling it jokes in this one, all of them together are at least impugning it and calling it a piece of shit clown.
Wow,
so I mean that's
really
a slight
bad
improvement, I would say. And also there's no direct space turtle. There's a stand-in in the form of Native American story told by Mike. I don't know.
Oh no.
I think there's some improvements and some problem. Like I think for every improvement, there's a setback in this movie compared to the book. And that, I mean, to my mind, the book is like it's not sacred or sacrosanct to me. So like I don't have like the longevity with it. But I think that like it's in all versions of it that I've seen so far, the story that we have is a delivery system for the cool scares and visuals and themes that we have, but none of them really like stick a landing that I think is worthwhile. This movie does a little bit of the Lord of the Rings multiple endings thing, to the point where in an effort to get out of the drive-in early, we started leaving with like 2 minutes left in the movie. We had to like pull off to the side to finish watching the movie. Because it just seemed like it was over. We were like, okay, credits roll. And we're pulling out. We're like, oh shit, we just lost our spot.
Yeah.
So there's like a little bit of that going on, but I mean, I don't know. The story, like I think all versions of this story kind of fall apart if you inspect it too closely. It's a little bit of a house of cards, but like looking at it in the whole, it's really impressive. Like there's a lot of really cool things that go on. I thought the miniseries was fun as a kid and scary. This is scary as an like has a lot of scary scenes, but some of them also fall flat too. So there's just so much of it. There's just so much of it. They have a lot of opportunity for success and failure. So they edge on success with the scares, but they also have a few clunkers.
Yeah, the story is problematic, but the scares are pulled off pretty well. Like there's so many different iterations of it in like just the different things that these characters find scary that you kind of have to give them a little leeway. They go like hard in the CGI on this, but yeah, they have to, because they have to create so many different monsters.
I don't particularly blame them, but at the same time, some of it falls pretty loose for me. Like I love the design of like the lady who plays the flute, who was in the first one as well, and it's really only like a flash in this one.
Yeah,
but like that sort of thing where it's like I love the design of that, but it doesn't play like reality. It still looks very CG.
The CG like ruined any kind of fear in this movie for me. I thought like most of it was like looked like complete dog shit. And dude, one of the things we were talking about the trailer, I loved the trailer for this movie, and even that scene where they lead up to it, because it built off of these like beats. Like we talk about how comedy and like horror are so similar sometimes, because it's about like building this tension and like knowing when to hit your mark and stuff like that. And that scene was still on point. It was like the whole trailer was that scene, but in the trailer, of course, they cut away from what happens. Dude, when that woman came out, oh my God, dude, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like some of that dumb shit we saw in like Hellboy earlier this year, where we were talking about how shitty dude, it was that. And then when that chick's like head catches on fire, when Ben goes to the school, pretty much like almost the spider at the end. Oh, dude, it looked so bad. And I almost, there's like like a couple of scenes where I felt like the fear that they were building like was justified. One of like the House of Mirrors. I thought they did the House of Mirrors well.
I agree with that.
That was like a cool one where it was kind of like building and then like ended, and then maybe too like the little girl when she goes under the stands or whatever, like
that was the best part.
beginning.
That was
that was pretty good.
That was cool.
Like red face Pennywise, I thought was great.
Yeah, that
Randy,
was cool. Like with the glow. But what?
Randy, I'm curious. Do you feel the same way that Justin does about the CG? Because like Justin and I had very different opinions about Hellboy. I'm just wondering if you're on the same page as him.
I think that none of it looks real by any measure.
Sure.
I think, but there's two sort of things that save it for me. One is the sets and the settings. I think that the settings in this movie are very immersive and good. Like I think that what you're shown really pulls you in to a point where you're willing to accept to a certain level, or at least for me, willing to accept some of the CG, even though it doesn't like look real. It's like it's pulling you into sort of just it pulls you into movie zone. You know what I mean? You're in like narrative world where anything can happen, anything's like possible and all this shit, but you're like there. I feel like I'm like part of the action in some ways. Even like it's the same thing that like the Cloverfield monster doesn't look great, but I feel like I'm part of the action because of the way they frame things, the way they set things. That's the sort of thing that I think works in this movie and sort of pulls that out of the dumpster a little bit. I don't think that it's like badly done CG. It's just not real enough for discerning eyes, really. Like, and that can ruin it. Like for me, I feel differently than Justin about the old lady and her transformation. When I saw that, I was like, I did not expect. I expected it to be the old lady like running really fast, like roto fast.
Me too. Yeah.
But they had this like crazy giant monster thing. I was like, oh fuck! Like it wasn't like the scariest thing in the world. And if they had lingered on it any longer, I would have been bored with it and been like, okay, enough of naked lady. But just the few, I think that's another part of the problem is that, in order to like sort of like satisfy the need of the scene, just to conclude a scene with some of these things, they have to spend too much time with the object of CGI that's kind of, maybe a little sketch. And the more time you spend with it, the more fake it looks. It's the Jaws robot. It's Bruce, the Jaws puppet. It's like you see much of it, and it falls apart.
They show you a ton of the monster in this movie, but to like juxtapose like the big giant grainy CG creature, immediately after that we have like a short intimate moment with Pennywise where he's not even in his clown makeup. He's like in the process of putting it on. And he kind of scratches his face and starts bleeding. I
thought that was cool.
The most
I like
scary parts of the movie.
I like that part too. Like I like that part where it was like I couldn't understand why they were trying to like shove it down your throat, because not only do they do this like shitty CGI, but they do it time and time again in the same way, to the point where it's like once I started to see the CG, I was like, well, this looks terrible, and it took me out of like the scare tension zone. And then once it started happening again, like when Ben goes to school, it's almost like the same beat of like where it's like, let me just turn the music on real loud and I'm gonna like shake in your face. Like the monster always just gets like right up in their face, but they're like never harmed by it. Like it's always just like, blah, and then it's like
it feeds off their fear, right?
Well, I mean, I know, but like, but the beats of it, it's just like it literally just like shakes in their face, like. Like boo, like I'm scaring you, and I was just like, oh,
it's like that Stranger Things
again and again and again and again, and it just
it's the repetition that gets you.
It was the repetition paired with this shitty CG, because it was like, if they had done that maybe with like practical effects, like I would have got bored with it, but it was just like. It's like, this is not scary to me, because now this is like the third or fourth time I've seen it, and I think it's like not even hitting the beats it needs to hit. And two, it just looks bad. So not only do I have to sit through this through like the third or fourth time, I have to look at this terrible design. Like I don't even think they were designed particularly well. Like like the old woman, it literally like her skin was like great. It looked like something out of like Harry Potter, that they would be like, oh my god, a monster! It's like a troll or something. It's supposed to be scary, but it wasn't. It looked so bad. And even like with the girl with her hair on fire, I was like, this look, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of that really bad a Christmas Story movie that had like that bad like animation, and one of the characters was like a candle or whatever. It just looked so bad. It looked so bad, and I was just like complete. And the thing was, I was watching this in IMAX too, which I was saying might have like hurt it. Because I was sitting there watching and I was just like, good Lord. But the shitty thing about it is I thought parts of it looked good. Like one, when the girl goes under the stands and Pennywise has like the firefly and it lights up his face, that looked awesome. When they go into the House of Mirrors and he's got like the long tongue, he licks it, and it's just like simple stuff. Or like when they do the balloons with like the massive balloons, like that's cool. It's like simple stuff, and it doesn't have to be this crazy monster with their titties hanging out. It's just like, I'm sorry, Yabos hanging out, and I'm just like, I'm just like, man, what? Well, like it feels like they got a little too big for their britches, where they were like, whoa, we made $700 million. So let's just.
That's the story, though, right?
3 hours long, and it's like
you could tone all that down, but then it's just got to be a totally different story from like I haven't read the book, but that's
I don't know that it does.
Really.
I don't.
Mean, you know better than I do, Randy.
I think the ending, maybe it was almost required that they do as much CG as they do, and for better or for worse. And it was the same with the first one, because you're in its lair. Like the rules of reality don't apply anymore. Like they don't apply outside either. But there's something like sort of like easier to swallow about a gush of blood coming from a drain, easier than a flute playing lady walking down the way, or like seeing too much of a lady's hair on fire or whatever, where that lady's head on, or what's her name, Bev's head on fire or whatever, that could have been accomplished practically. And I think that if they had done it that way, it would have been more effective. That's there's definitely moments like that. But to like, I also feel like I'm a little bit crippled in this regard, and like in terms of my viewing, because I was watching it on a drive-through and like a drive-in, excuse me. And as much as I had a great time doing that, there you lose some of the fidelity in that. There's just no way to get the pure blacks and pure brights the way that you do in a closed room. So I feel like
better in IMAX, guy. I'm telling, like it didn't help my experience to have those.
No, I think it helped my experience, is what I'm saying. Because
okay, I gotcha.
Like, I couldn't see the seams as much. I couldn't see the strings.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And not as much as I could have. And that's my assumption based on like some of the scenes were kind of hard to see. Like if they're in the dark, too much in the dark, I could not see a damn thing. I couldn't read some of it. So like, the thing you talking about that, like I didn't mind as much the CG like toward the end of the movie, because like I understood the story like a little bit, but it was part of the design too. So like when they're in the lair, but they look up and it's essentially like this giant kind of mouth, I guess, or whatever. It's like got all the teeth or whatever. I was like, and then with the lights floating down, I was like, okay, like that's fine. Like it still doesn't look great, but the design. Yeah, exactly. And don't spend too much time looking directly at the fishing line that's holding it up.
Yeah, and it's also kind of just like that idea, I guess, is scary. Like, oh, we're like, we think we're in the sewer, but really when we look up, like there's this giant mouth, and it's so like ominous. But like you said, like there's another focus that you're like, okay, that's scary. But then when it's like running around and it's like a spider, I was like, this feels like a shitty action movie, like fucking Hellboy. I was like, this isn't horror. Like this isn't scary at all.
You know what ruined the deadlight scene you were just describing for me? Because I like that scene except for one thing, and it's the thing that I least expected to make me. It came from Bill Hader, who I loved in every other part of the movie. But Bill Hader, when he gets taken by the deadlights, he does the goofiest fucking like slack-jawed stare. Like they did.
I thought it looked all right.
It looked like they did a joke take and then they just used it. And it's like, it would be hilarious if it was in SNL, but it's not SNL. I'm supposed to be scared for him. So I was not. I don't know, but great. Like I actually like his character. They went a slightly different direction with him, with having him have like a homophobic sort of background. Like that was his sort of like hidden thing, but they didn't really like, I don't know. I could complain about how it's like, yeah, it's there, but they spent God knows how much time with the romance between Bill, Ben, and Bev, the three Bs as we call them.
The B.
But
was this character
vaguely hinted at the homosexual aspect of Richie's character?
Okay, homosexual, not homophobic.
Well,
That's-
he dealt with homophobia as a kid. is what I
Dealing
was-
with that homophobia.
Dealing with like homophobia from Bowers and his gang and shit.
because
They weren't
he's.
very explicit.
So, do you think his character is a homosexual?
Yes.
Okay.
In bisexual, homosexual. He was attracted to some men. Yeah, some boys.
Right.
whatever.
Okay. Just trying to understand. I was peeing
okay.
during that.
Bob, there was like many scenes. How many?
It's a
scenes
long
were you
movie, I
saying?
guess. Get
Yeah,
yourself,
it is.
Get yourself a bucket, buddy.
Okay.
I needed to.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
like, because there's the one scene where they're in the arcade. There's a scene where
That's the
he
big one.
then goes like to town square, and like it is like,
It's like
you
I
know,
know who you
like,
really are.
yeah, like going, and then
Yeah.
there's like the ending scene where he's like carving his name into the thing. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a lot there.
I remember coming back in the theater when it's screaming like, "I know your secret," and I was like, "Shit, what's a secret?"
Rob
That's the
doesn't
thing, is
know.
they're not really explicit about it. They're about as explicit as they can be at the end, where he's carving his initial and Eddie's initial into
Right.
But I mean,
Yeah, I
aside
caught
from
that,
that,
yeah.
they're pretty like just compared to the other romances going on, and the like, it's just sort of underbaked, which makes sense, I guess, because it is an add-on as opposed to from the original text. But it just sort of like was a little bewildering for me. I like that they gave Richie something else besides like, I don't know, racist caricatures to do the whole movie. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know. I liked watching Bill Hader do his thing too. In general, I think Bill Hader was the standout for me, and I think for a lot of people by the sound of it.
Yeah, Bill Hader
Yeah.
killed it. Really, I love like pretty much all the adults. Like the casting, just in general, I thought was pretty great. But like, I kind of had a little bit of a problem with the guy they cast for the grown-up version of Ben. How he was just like this ripped up, like supermodel looking guy, and he was
Yeah,
like
that's a
little
guy that's never been
chubby
fat.
kid. Yeah. I
Oh,
I guess he
really?
looks like kind of similar in the face
Yeah.
or whatever, but it just,
Oh,
I was like,
really?
why? Because everybody else, like when they go back to Derry, like, you know, if they, like Bill kind of, it seems like in the beginning of the movie, Bill isn't stuttering, but he goes back to Derry and he kind of like gets his stutter back.
Mm-hmm.
And it like, Richie seems like, yeah, he's like a successful comedian or whatever, but he seems like kind of lonely and he's like nervous and like
Yeah,
vomiting
because he's
and
not
stuff.
true with himself.
Yeah, and like Mike just never left Derry, and he's just like carrying the weight of like everything that happened when they were kids for like 27 years. And like Eddie is still like a nervous hypochondriac character, and like Stanley just commits suicide. Like everybody has problems, but Bill is just like, I don't know, I just got a fucking six
Ben.
pack now. Like,
Ben.
sorry, Ben. Yeah,
Really?
I just
I
didn't
don't
like that.
agree. I don't agree with
Yeah?
that. Yeah, and I thought that they did a good job, especially when they're doing his thing where he's like getting buried in the thing. And his whole thing, I guess his whole thing is like, yeah, I think it's a thing that like you deal a lot with. It's like, yeah, he was like a nerd and ignored as a kid. And even as an adult, he's wealthy and he's in good shape but he still like feels apart from the group. Like, so they have that big dinner scene where
All have
everybody's
scars.
like joking around and like feels connected. And he like, I thought that guy did a good part of, he like feels like the straight arrow kind of guy where like he doesn't fit in. And despite his like wealth and good looks, like he's still that insecure, like fat kid inside. And like he can't get the girl like that he's always been in love with, despite the fact that he's
But he
rich and like
does.
good looking. Well, but through the movie though,
That's
like
the end of
she's
his arc.
still, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the end of his art. Like that's the thing he's struggling with. Is like she's giving all this other guys attention. He's still too
I don't
nervous to
know.
like talk to
Just
her.
'cause,
I
like,
thought it was
Fine,
good.
but I don't think it's like that well tread. Like I don't think that him being outside of the group is as displayed as you think it is, or as I disagree with that. I think that it's a little bit more concealed, or like just a little less baked than what you're describing. But I think it makes sense. And I think that by the end, they definitely make that explicit, and they tell you that they show you like what he's actually going through. That he feels those scars of being like tormented as a kid for his weight.
But he doesn't even have like the scar of the H on his stomach. Like it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just-
true.
it
Yeah, he probably
bothers
That's just
should have
me.
had
weird,
that.
which that bothered me. But yeah, I
And
I
like
think
the only
that
reason that he's not getting like him and Beverly aren't getting together is because he just didn't really pursue it after they grew up or whatever. But also like when they go back to Derry, she's not like vibing him because she just doesn't really remember. And then as soon as she remembers, she's like, oh yeah, let's make out underwater.
Yeah, well, he's
in the
also too
movie.
insecure to say anything to her, which is, I think, the biggest thing to Justin's point is that he's too insecure
I
to be like,
guess.
no, I wrote that poem. Like, that's all he would have to do.
He's
She's like, oh shit, you're
he's
right.
still
I
scared
love
of the
you.
rejection. Yeah, he's still,
Yeah.
despite like his improvements, like on the surface level, he's still got those scars deep down, which is what everybody has. It's like you said, like
But
on the
what I
surface
thought
level,
was-
somebody's like, you know, an accomplished writer and somebody's an accomplished comedian, but like deep down, they're all like fucked up in their own ways. But,
the
like,
person that I thought
it.
got the shaft this time
The
again,
shift shaft.
the shift shaft,
Shoot,
was
sure.
fucking Mike. Mike got a lot more screen time in this one. I give him that, but they don't. Like in the first one, I felt like he got relegated to the sideline. Ben took up the mantle of being like the researcher, and he just kind of like doesn't. He just kind of like comes in late, and he doesn't get as much screen time or lines or anything. And in this movie, he gets a lot more because he's the one bringing people back, and like that's true to the book. But like his whole arc at the end is that, I mean, apart from the trauma of losing his parents the way he did and like all the racism and stuff, it seems like one of the things they were really trying to push in this one was that he's worried that he's lost his mind, and that's what Pennywise is playing off of. Like, oh, you're just crazy. Like that fear that maybe this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe I'm the one that's insane. And they just didn't play that enough for me. I just feel like he didn't get a whole lot to do besides defraud the group a little bit and bring them together.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I mean, that
whole
sounds
thing
it
was kind
sounds like he does a lot, but he just kind of disappears for a while in long stretches of both movies. That character is just not in frame for a lot of the movie when he should be there.
Yeah.
There's just like things like, you drugged me, and it's like, oh, you're gonna see this. Like, I was just like,
Well, yeah,
I
and
don't like
that's
that
actually a
shit.
statement.
And
That's
it
a statement
doesn't
for
work.
something that happens in the book, which was
does.
weird, but which was less weird than having your friend drug you against your will. I don't know, man.
It just was like dumb. Like and then they have to, not only is it like dumb, they gotta like info dump on it, and it's just like there's not a lot about this movie that's very horror to me, honestly. And I understand like having to stick or like wanting to stick with the book, and like, you know, I commend that, but like, I don't know, man. The first one just felt more like this is I like, you know, people have a problem like, oh, it's a bigger blockbuster horror movie, and I like could recognize that, but it felt like horror. This barely. It honestly, it felt more like of an adventure movie with like a couple horror scenes in it, with like a horror element maybe like through the middle, but like, I don't know, it just wasn't scary to me.
It still felt as horror to me as the last one. Like, I don't see any big like quantifiable difference between the amount of scares in the first and second one. I think there's just a lot more of this one, and a lot more of it is bigger and therefore harder for us to buy, because bigger in this movie specifically seems to mean CGI, and the CGI is questionable. So,
and also, well, I think a lot of it is like the beats too. Like I was talking about, like, okay, so that trailer, I like thought it was great, and there were like scenes in this where like the beats like really hit. Then there were like some like that scene where the dude who's scared of germs. I always get Eddie and Richie mixed up, like their
That's
names.
Eddie's the
So,
hypochondriac.
when Eddie goes into the basement and like he's choking out like the whatever, I don't know, the disease,
The leper?
man. Yeah, the leper, and it like pukes on his face,
That
like,
pissed
And
me
it
off.
plays a great song.
and it plays the song.
Oh boy, I did not
There
like
it
that.
is. I was just
I
like,
loved it.
Really?
Oh God, of
Yeah.
course you.
That
did.
was like, it seemed like suddenly I thought Deadpool was gonna show up. It was fucking pointless.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it had that feel, and I was just like, what is this movie trying to do? And the thing is, and here's the difference, because I thought Bob was going to give me some shit and be like, oh, you don't like comedy in your horror movies. Except I thought the comedy coming from like Bill Hader was like mostly on point and was like one of the highlights of this movie. But then there were moments like that where it, like Randy said, where it was like, what are they trying to do? Like fucking a Deadpool movie up in there? Like it felt like a YouTube clip that somebody made, like, or like cut in. I was just like, man, this is so.
Yeah, it's like
the beat.
it's like somebody
beat was not there. It wasn't.
It's-
time.
It's like
It
they were like,
doesn't
we're gonna beat
follow.
the meme machine to the punch and make this meme happen in the movie before any enterprising young 4chaner can get their hands on it and add this song to it.
Tonally, it doesn't fit the film, and I agree with you guys. But as I was watching that in the movie theater, I laughed so fucking hard. I thought it was
I did
hilarious.
not.
I loved it. Yeah.
I didn't.
What the fuck is this? Like, because up until that point in that scene, I was pretty into it. I feel like I like the leper. I think it looks cool, even if it's CG and like all that stuff. But I also was like, oh, he's actually kind of beating it. And of course, there's going to be like a turn at some point. But I didn't expect it to be a comedic turn. And if it was, like, I think they could have done it subtly and been more successful. Like, if they had just done that and had him fall backwards, and be like, holy shit, and that would have been fine. Like, it's funny enough that the hypochondriac just got like vomited black tar on him. Like, you don't need to add the music cue. I don't know, that shit
Like,
really
why even that
like,
song? It didn't even. It doesn't make any sense. Not a lick of sense.
Naturally, like naturally a comedic song to people now. It's a comedic cue. I don't know. It was like watching fucking a TikTok video.
How did you guys feel about the Bowers character, like the serial killer, like coming to town?
I feel like I wish he had a little bit more, but yeah, I like.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything though.
I liked him.
Well, that's true. That's also true of the story a little bit. Like, I like he's there primarily to just kind of wreak a little havoc, but it's primarily emotional because in this movie and in this story in general, that's the other thing is like the stakes once you're an adult seem much lower because there's just not many people dying. In this movie, they tried to stopgap that a little bit with showing children getting eaten, like, you know, which makes perfect sense and it's like reminds you what the stakes really are. But none of your main characters really catch anything until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So except for Stanley, which is another thing, but that's a suicide, so it's like a whole other emotional thing. It's not a scare. But so I don't know.
I get that, but one, like, they didn't really give him much to do, so I don't have a problem with him in general, and like the idea of like him coming back, especially the way they handled him in the first movie was like felt so like he was like this intimidating bully, but in this one they kind of play it more comedic. That his like friend who's like a zombie who's really got like
chauffeur
looks really bad CG again.
I thought it looked awesome.
I thought it looked cool. I thought the design was cool on that one.
Yeah, when it crawls out from underneath the bed, like
I think
the
they spent too long.
I thought that was great.
I think they looked at it too much. That was another case where it's like
could be. I don't mind the design, I guess, but it still looked bad.
It should have been shrouded in shadow a little more.
I thought it looked good.
And then like he drives them around.
Split.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing is like I think he shows up in 2 scenes, maybe 3, and one of them is played like kind of comedic again, where he like stabs again Eddie in the face.
And
instead of it being like this terrifying thing, like, oh my god, this is the bully who's like coming back and revisiting us, and he has just stabbed me in the face, they play it like comedically, like he closes the curtain real slow. I thought so. So Eddie, instead of like freaking, he closes the curtain real slow. Like you have like the nerve to like, I've just been stabbed in the face, I'm just gonna like close the curtain, and then like stabs him
so he can surprise him with a knife. He takes the knife out of his cheek and he doesn't know. And
but it was like the way it was done. It was like it was just like ha ha ha. Like I don't know. It was just.
I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was like actually really good. Like what? I don't remember this actor's name, and I feel bad, but he's Ziggy Sabatka.
Ziggy Sabatka from The Wire, season 2.
Yeah, damn.
Fuck yeah.
Ziggy Sabatka like gets stabbed in the face, and he has this full-on panic moment. And to me, that's what it was. It's like that, and that's narratively what they point to later on is him being brave. Like it's him like keeping his wits about him. He has no choice but to be in that room, which is the difference. Like he has no chance to run, so he has to be creative. He has to be brave, and he does it through an intense panic. And I thought he played it great. I thought it wasn't. I thought it was like a pretty intense moment for his character. Yeah, and like for me as a viewer, I thought I was pretty tensed up for that one. Not like as much as this movie makes me tense, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, what other scene did they use Bowers in other than when he like shows up on like Mike? Yeah, that's it, right?
I mean, what else? Like the options are you cut him out entirely and you miss that nice well of like childhood trauma that they can drudge up for this movie, or they expand on it and make it a 4-hour movie. So I mean,
you know what was comedic about it? Not only did he like slowly close the shower curtain, which I thought was like played like in a like semi-comedic show because of the way it's like so slow, but then he like insults his mullet, which
on the way out. That was
Yeah,
comedic,
like
and I
on the
loved
way
it.
out, and
Yeah.
it's just like
That one landed good for me. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, man. I was like,
'Cause
at
that came
that
on
point,
that.
I was like, I had kind of forgotten about him, and I don't mind him being in there. It's like I said with the kids, it was much more like intimidating or scary, I guess, because he's like the bully. He's like older, he's bigger, he's like
But that's part of it.
psychotic, where he's like
He's
cutting
like,
them. Where in this one, he didn't really feel like a threat, I guess. To where like the one time where he should be very intimidating and threatening, where he's got somebody cornered in a bathroom, and almost all the beats that they hit for me were comedic. Now it might have like helped that character like grow or whatever, but like for that scene, like the beats that they're hitting, everything, like insult his mullet, and like close the curtain really like slow, like
but the
all the
insult
beats that
was
they hit were comedic
relief for a tense scene.
but I
Thank
didn't
God they
feel
didn't
the
talk about
tension.
banh mi sandwiches.
Oh my God.
Oof.
Yeah. Anyway, but
However,
like,
though, I thought the comedy in general for this movie was good. Like I thought, like I was
agree
like, hey,
too. I agree with
this is how you do comedy in a horror movie, like in this type of sense. Because Bill Hader, he is a comedian, and they hired like a comedian to do it, and he does a great
and they
fucking
gave him
job.
a satisfying personal arc, which was like amazing. But they did both for his character. The problem is that not everybody gets like two stars next to their name the way that Bill Hader does in this, because he gets to be the source of comedic relief and the source of some dramatic shit going on. So, I mean, he just kind of stands out. Maybe that's the reason, is he kind of gets to play a dual role.
Yeah.
Well, and it made sense because in this movie, guess what? He is a comedian. Like, so it's like it makes sense for there to be a person. If a person's a professional comedian, it makes sense to have comedy in this movie.
And that's
it
just his character. Even when he was a kid, that's just the person. So even if he wasn't a comedian, that's just who he is.
And so it doesn't feel like shoehorned in. It's because, okay, that's what this character is. And not only did they do that, they hired a professional comedian to portray this.
I feel like bringing up the banh mi was a big mistake, because we're now on the
sorry.
I don't want to focus on that because we all agree it was good in this movie.
I love the scene where Bill Hader freaks out on that little kid when they're in the Chinese restaurant and he thinks it's it. I love that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that also though, that was good too, because that was another moment where it was dual edged, because it was comedic in that moment, but also he's like, they're like, dude, you don't know the words from your own act. He's like, I don't write my own material, which makes sense because earlier he's talking about having a girlfriend who made him join Masturbators Anonymous. Like, so his material is centered around him being a straight man. He's not being true to himself. It's another character beat if you look at it.
Layers. Bill's got layers. So we I don't know, we kind of need to land this plane, I think. Is there any big thing you guys want to touch on before we rate it?
I don't know. There's so much in this fucking movie.
Yeah, it's so long.
It is.
This is another movie where I feel like after in the book and in the miniseries, Eddie, I feel like was just shrifted and just made to such a little bitch in so many ways. And it's just like he's not. Though in this movie, they kind of redeem him at the end, and I was very happy about that. So I was happy.
Go into your rating, Randy. You're doing it. Go ahead and do it. Yeah. Out of 5, how you feel?
Okay. I don't remember what I gave it chapter 1. And I honestly don't know which one I prefer. I think I need to sit with the second one more. After seeing it chapter 1 for a third time yesterday or day before, whenever it was, I think that I like it better than when I first reviewed it. But it just felt a little cash grabby to me at the time because of the Stranger Things thing, and like because everybody was remaking everything. But I think that they had a fairly satisfying arc for most of the characters in this, and that's what the story is for me. Is it's about the characters. The ending again falls short, and just because they make Stephen King make a direct joke about that doesn't mean it's not true. So like it's a little bit of a half-hearted ending, or not half-hearted. They went whole hog on it, but the way that they sort of like tried to say no, the ending's good this time is by just making like 3 false endings and then a real ending, like with the Lord of the Rings thing, where they're just adding weight to it by literally adding minutes. I don't know. I don't love the ending of this. I'd never loved the ending of it in the first place, really. So, I mean, tough to say if that's this movie's fault or not. But I don't know. I'm hemming and hawing here. I think overall, I thought that the scary bits in this movie were pretty scary or pretty well done. I think the blocking and the immersion in this movie are great. I think most of the comedy is great. I think the characters are great. I think some of the comedy falls short. I think it's too long in general. I think that the MacGuffin of finding these fucking tokens just never pays off, and it just makes this, the only thing it results in is this sub story about Mike lying to the group, which doesn't seem to be valuable to me narratively. And it just makes all those scenes happen, which is good, but it doesn't hold its weight narratively. So I think there's like some real drawbacks, and I think for everything that they got right and or corrected in this, they also fucked up something for my tastes. So for me, I think I'm going to give it a 3.75.
All right, 3.75.
It's a pretty good movie. It's fun, and I think it's a cultural flashpoint where, like, if you don't watch these two movies, you're going to be missing on a piece of the dialogue of horror movies for years to come. The same way as the miniseries kind of became through cult viewing, but this is on a big scale. Like this is the biggest horror movie of the year. It's got, I mean, in terms of mass notice, mass awareness. Like I think it probably is.
Yeah,
so
normies are going to go check it out.
Or plenty of juggalos too. Saw some of those.
Oh man, Juice, how you feel out of 5?
I feel like a lot of the criticisms that the first movie got that I didn't really understand at the time, goes to this movie. Like, as far as feeling like a cash grab, this feels more of a cash grab of the first movie than the first one felt of things that it wasn't related to, like Stranger Things and other things where like, oh, more kids doing things. It's like, well, that's its story. Whereas this
movie was always going to happen.
It was going to happen, but like, I just feel like, man, I feel like it's a bit of a cash grab. It definitely doesn't need to be 3 hours long. And like, if the first one had not been more successful, if it had been like successful but more low key, like this movie would not be this way. And I think they got a little too big for their britches, honestly. I think they like blew their load all over this like shitty CG budget. They missed the beat. Like, the one thing I've given this movie some shit. Some good things I liked about it. I thought, of course, the cast is fantastic, and all the acting, like in general, is fantastic, including like the comedy and stuff. And I thought they did an amazing job, like going from the kids to the adults. Like every kid or every adult, to me, I could like see the kid and like their camaraderie and everything. That felt true to me, all of it, even with like Ben, like everybody. And even though like Mike felt like a little flat, it just felt like everybody had some like deep scars that they were dealing with, and I felt kind of all of it. Like none of it felt like shoehorned in or like, oh, like that doesn't make sense. Like having spent a whole other movie with these people as kids, the people as adults felt true to me. So I thought they did a great job with that, and the casting was, fantastic. And it did have some of the stuff in it that I liked from that first one. I wish they had kept it a little more simple, like the things with like the balloons, that scene Bob had mentioned where Pennywise like doesn't have his makeup on, he's kind of putting it on, or that scene where they go, I'm trying to think of more than the ones I've mentioned, like the even when like Richie, he's like in the field and like Pennywise is like coming down with those balloons and everybody's kind of like frozen. Like that felt like cool because it would like have like some beats and like, oh shit, like you feel the real tension or whatever. I like the
giant log man, but I imagine the Paul Bunyan statue, but I imagine you did not.
I did not like the giant. I forgot about that. I did not like the giant Paul Bunyan statue. So it kept going like back and forth. So in that instance, I was like, oh my gosh, this Paul Bunyan looks so bad. But then they go to the part that I did like where they're frozen. So, I mean, it was back and forth. So overall, I left the theater kind of disappointed with it, but it's just because I did actually like the first one pretty good. So I'm going to give this one a 2.5. I think every positive that has an equal negative to it. So I'll just split it down the middle.
Cool. All right.
We like swapped places from our last reviews, Justin.
Oh yeah.
Pretty close to it. You and I did.
I think I'm gonna come in with a 3.5 on this one overall.
Wow.
So the CG like doesn't bother me as much as it does you, Juice, in general? Because like I was sort of expecting that just based on the first movie. There's not as much, but there's plenty of it for sure. Yeah, like the acting in general is fantastic, and the casting is great. I love the score and like the sound design in this movie. That theme that they reuse. It's like wow 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 wow, or I don't know, whatever it sounds like. It's they use it in the trailer and like throughout the movie. It's that's a bad rendition of it, but I fucking love that creepy theme. I don't know. There's like just the general like themes that they're playing with in this movie, as well as like you can conquer more like together than you can separately, and just like it's not breaking any new ground here, but essentially it's just like nothing to fear other than fear itself. Like if you just get over your fear of a thing, then you'll be okay. I don't know. And also just like the editing in this movie, like the way they just seamlessly transition between like the kids and the adults. They do a lot of like smart things with that. There's like one scene early on in the movie where somebody like looks up to the sky and they see all the stars, and then the camera zooms into the stars and they turn into little puzzle pieces, and we come up through a puzzle piece and we're in like somebody's living room. I think it's Stanley's living room, and he's like putting a puzzle together or something. It's just like little things like that, little touches like that are just super cool and like crazy well thought out and put together in this movie. And there's a lot of them. So I'm just like noticing stuff like that. I really enjoy. Yeah, it's sort of, there's a lot going on, probably too much going on. But that is the story. Like you could like certainly change it, but they chose not to, I guess. But overall, I enjoy it. 3.5 from me, and that's going to put our aggregate at a 3.25.
Okay.
Which is just under the first one for the aggregate.
Yeah.
Really. I see, like, comparing the two, I definitely would say, like, I certainly prefer the first one more.
I can see why, like, having you make that point, Juice, like, I can see why, because the first one is not, it's less cluttered by virtue of the fact it doesn't have to jump timelines.
Yeah.
Which was one of the things that, like, I don't know, it was a big talking point about the movie because there was not confirmed to be an It Chapter 2. Of course, there was always going to be one.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I was a little worried that this movie would say at the end, It Chapter 2, Chapter 3 coming next summer, and it would not actually conclude the story until next movie or whatever.
Lord.
Which I'm so glad it was. I don't know. That would have been the cash grabbiest of the cash grab. But also, Rob, you brought up like the themes and stuff, and one of the things that I think it did pretty well, but maybe a little heavy-handed based on one line, was the theme of just growing up, which like the whole story is entirely about growing up with trauma, banding together with other people with trauma, and rather than sticking at it like and getting through it because you have a shared communion around people that are going through their own shit, rather than like that's what friends growing up do. That's the whole thing. That's the whole subtext of the story as far as I can tell. And they do that pretty well, but I was a little bit put off by the last words of Pennywise being, "Oh, you've all grown up." And I was like, that's a bit on the nose there, Pennywise. Like, maybe draw back.
Shut up, you big dumb spider.
I don't know. I would have rather heard him say, "Kiss me, fat boy," again.
Time to float. Really anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Take it away, Juice.
All right, let's hop in here. High count on the critics. Let's go around the table, and you boys can try to guess what these 263 critics have rated It Chapter 2. Randy, why don't you kick us off?
God, I don't even know where to begin. I'll try and do a facsimile of our score and say 65.
Okay, 65. Robert.
I'm gonna take the comedy number, 69.
God bless you.
65 and 69. Randy's gonna take it so close, 64%.
Hey,
damn.
So it actually, yeah, we are like right on there. Because ours was what, 3.25.
Yeah.
So the critic consensus is It Chapter 2 proves bigger doesn't always mean scarier for horror sequels, but a fine cast and faithful approach to the source material keep this follow-up afloat.
I'll agree to all that, actually.
I agree with that. And there's some still images on here of Pennywise, and he looks great. Like every time like they portrayed him, like I thought it was good.
If they hadn't nailed the Pennywise look, both of these movies would have been, well, I don't know, it would have been so much worse. It's so easy to fuck that up.
Yeah.
And I think like they lean so heavily on it because it works so well. So good for them. I wasn't sold the first time I saw his picture, but seeing him in action for the first time with It Chapter 1 and now again with this, it really shows that they did a good job designing him from the outset, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the top critics have it rated as rotten. I'm seeing like 2 out of 5, rating C. There's like a couple top critics that have it fresh, but it never decides which fears to take at face value and which exist only in the subconscious and winds up confused as a result.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of true because like sometimes like when like Eddie was like fighting it in the basement, or he was just like, oh fuck you, and it was able to like choke it out, you know.
Yeah.
And
well, and then
like,
later on that comes back. And,
yeah.
I don't know, it's like, oh, we have to make it small. Oh, there's multiple ways to make it feel small. We just have to.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to make it feel it? I don't know. Why are we making it feel things? Why did the bucket not work? Why is any of this?
Yeah, and how did the Native Americans not figure that out? Like they were able to figure out how to make this whole chanting spell and everything, but they couldn't just like say like you're
call
just
it
a
a little
clown. Bitch. Yeah, just call it a bitch. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
bully the bully.
So let's get into the audience score, verified ratings. Oh, what?
I'm sorry. I just remembered a point I wanted to make earlier. Not a big point, but I just kind of wish that, like, when they started throwing rocks at the thing, when Richie started throwing rocks at it, I was like, that would be, like, kind of a perfect... I wish that had been the solution, is, like, them banding together and be defeating them the same way they defeated bullies, because that's what it is. It's a stand-in for childhood trauma, which is often bullies, and Bowers was there, too. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up, and I forgot to bring it up earlier.
Okay. Audience score, verified ratings, 9,646 people have rated It Chapter 2 so far. Let's start with Bob this time. Bob, what do you think the Oozers rated this one?
Probably a little higher than the critics, I think. Anyways, I'll go 70.
All right, 70. Randy, what do you think?
Just slightly higher than your last one. You might as well have gone to the counting number again.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'll do 75. I think probably more generous.
75. Randy's gonna sweep the board. That might be 2 weeks in a row. I can't remember, but having a good streak, Randy. 81% on the audience score. So people are just fanboying out over this. Okay, that's fine. I see. Yeah.
It is faithful. And it has lots of fans.
Yeah, so 81% overall positive on It Chapter 2. Poster's cool. I like it hanging on my wall. It's creepy.
It's a good looking poster.
Yeah. You can win it here. I straighten out. So yeah, that's our Rotten Tomatoes segment.
That sure does look cool on the wall, doesn't it? Leave us a comment. Cool. Let's go ahead and get into some trivia.
This is totally
Take it away.
for trivia, Randy.
Trivia today is not light. There was so much on IMDb's trivia page, and so much of it is just people competing to be the first person to say the same piece of trivia that 12 other people have already posted.
There's
a lot to sift through.
For trivia, Randy.
Hey, we got bumps for a reason,
Let's go ahead and do this shit. So Bill Hader was unaware that Bill Skarsgård can actually move his eyes in 2 different directions, which I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's a real thing he can do that they worked into the script. Hader asked Skarsgård what sort of editing was done to achieve the effect in the first movie, and Skarsgård, in full makeup and costume, responded by saying, "Oh, you mean this?" And doing it caused Hader to freak out. Well
That's
written.
Awesome.
Yes, I love that. I wonder if there's footage of that. I hope so. Let's see. Bill Hader was said it was his first time acting in a horror film, which we know, and he struggled to act scared because his natural reaction to being scared is to nervously smile. Fair enough. Bill Hader was actually there's a lot of Bill Hader on the front end of this. So Bill Hader was approached for the role of Richie Tozier based on Finn Wolfhard's wish to cast him in the sequel. Hader, who had never met Wolfhard, was extremely flattered that Wolfhard wanted him to take the role. So like that's kind of cool. And I don't know, like he was actually like, I don't know if he was brought in just because of that, but like it was clearly a good choice.
Yeah, worked out pretty well.
And to that end, the members of the Losers Club from the 2017 It were asked if who they wanted to play their adult parts, and Finn Wolfhard said Richie Tozier. He said Bill Hader for Richie Tozier's adult self. Beverly's Sophia Lillis, who plays Beverly Marsh, said Jessica Chastain, who was the first person cast, and was a front runner for that role anyway. Chosen Jacobs, who played Mike Hanlon, wanted Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, to be him because, of course, that's like he's the hottest fucking name in cinema right now. Jack Dylan Grazer, Eddie Kasbrak said Jake Gyllenhaal, which would have been pretty interesting, but I'm happy with Ziggy personally. Wyatt Olaf, who played Stanley Uris, said he wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt to play him as an adult, which could have been cool. Jeremy Ray Taylor, who played Ben Hanscom, wanted Chris Pratt. Jaden Martell, who played Bill Denbrough, wanted Christian Bale. Only those two actually made that.
Christian Bale.
The amount of money they would have spent on these names if they had cast all of them would have been astronomical. But
yeah,
Idris Elba also expressed interest in playing Mike's adult self as well, which I think would have been too stacked. You don't need a buff Mike Hank. You don't need a buff librarian in this movie.
That man is just too sexy. Too sexy for it.
He's too sexy for the library.
Having that man talk about like Native Americans, that would have been weird.
Staring at my leather pouch, boy.
So some of these loser
Rob's really killing these impressions.
Nailing it, really.
I sound just like Idris Elba. Like
that's Idris all the way. The young actors who were in the Losers Club in Chapter 1 grew tremendously in the 2 years following filming, so they had to digitally de-age them in some scenes, so they looked significant.
That bothered
Why you never work with kids.
I actually didn't notice at all.
I actually did. I didn't notice at all either, honestly.
You did, Bob? Where did you notice that?
When they're in their little underground bunker and their voices are altered too. It's not just their faces; it's their voice. Yeah,
they're digitally de-aged. Yeah,
shit, it's not right.
I didn't notice it at all.
I didn't notice it all either.
Butter on their faces or something. It's weird.
They look like Emperor Palpatine, or not Emperor Palpatine. Who's that fucker? Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was weird.
That was weird. Yeah.
I think I didn't notice. Maybe it was because it was again on a less than high fidelity.
No, I mean I didn't notice an IMAX.
Maybe because you were too busy necking Randy.
You know
necking at the drive-in.
That was necking, which in our world means eating hot dogs.
Oh yeah, baby, that's how you do it.
Extra chili.
Oh, neck me, baby.
Talk dirty to me, Randy.
Seth Green, who played young Richie in the miniseries It, expressed interest in playing the adult Richie in this film, which could have been fucking cool. I like Bill Hader a lot in this movie. I don't regret having him, but I kind of like that idea.
What's old Seth Green up to these days, speaking of?
Doing a lot of cartooning.
Oh, okay.
On the Adult Swim.
Let's clowning around.
Clowning. The room where Bill is typing at the end of this film when he gets a call from Mike is the same room from Stand By Me. You guys saw? You remember Stand By Me? You guys remember that one?
I do.
Okay. It's great.
I know the song. Darling, bestand.
It's basically the same movie, just without the clown and with, I don't know. It's the same movie without the clown, actually. Another thing, it's the same story.
Oh.
Darling Bish.
What are you doing?
Stand by me.
Let's see. During the final battle, Richie calls Pennywise, quote, a sloppy bitch. This is a reference to an interview of Bill Hader on Conan, where Hader revealed that he would call his friend that when they would beat him at GoldenEye. Yes, that's the
You
most,
sloppy bish.
that whole sentence sounds like it was tailor-made for us to talk about
Yeah.
people our age.
When I beat
Um,
my friend in GoldenEye.
You
I know how you kids like them extra sloppy.
Another Bill Hader. When Bill Hader sees Stanley, the Stanley Spider, he says, quote, "You've got to be fucking kidding," which is a direct reference to The Thing, where the spider head transforms, and I forget who,
Yeah.
but somebody says that exact line. Let's see.
I think
That
it's
was-
Kurt Russell. I think Kurt Russell said
I
that.
don't think it is. I don't know. I
No,
don't
it's
know.
not.
I'm not gonna stake a claim on that.
Maybe it is.
That was-
Maybe it
Been a
is.
couple
was-
years.
Definitely like straight out of The Thing, man.
Yeah.
That shit was.
Yeah, it was. Like, it's pretty obvious that's a thing.
Yeah.
I did
think-
like that. That was one of the CG things that
It worked for
didn't
me.
bother me. Yeah.
Oh, so now you like the CG?
Oh, it's all
now it's okay
it's an
because
it's
it's
a winner
from The Thing.
Let me pull a Bob and change my Suspiria rating post hazing to a much
Post-
higher
Oh,
rate.
states. We're just gonna shame you into raising your score.
let's do it.
Mhm. That's not how we work, Bob. I have some integrity in my
We
scores.
barely work at all, Bob.
I have integrity in my Yabos rating. Bob.
All right. Bill Skarsgård stated in an interview that after filming had wrapped, he would have nightmares of Pennywise. In these nightmares, he would have to do battle with Pennywise just as the characters in this film. So,
Damn.
Let's
you're
do
cursed.
battle, Pennywise.
You should probably find a leather bucket to throw a clown into.
to do battle. What a weird
But
expression.
it won't work.
It won't work, but you should
And
do
then you
it.
just gotta call him a bitch.
You should
and
spend a
then
couple
you'll win.
hours showing us footage of you doing that, and then
But
have it. not-
isn't that what they did when they were kids? Like, isn't that the same thing that they did? Was just
What?
be like, "We're not scared of you," and then beat
Yeah.
its ass. So
Yeah.
they just forgot to do that again.
But then they ripped its heart out in this one, and then I guess that
They had to go further
And
because
is
it
it-
ran, and they didn't
no,
want
I
to chase.
know, but
it
just
fell
like,
down the vinegar hole in the first one.
But the
Couldn't rip its heart out.
method changes because, like, I mean, it's I guess more scary. It scares them in more direct, in different
No.
ways this time that they're not expecting. Maybe I don't
should
know.
have just done the first thing they did when they were successful the first time.
Yep.
No.
This is one of
Okay.
this is one of my favorite things that I got in trivia here. Brandon Crane, who played the young Ben from It 1990, is an employee at Ben's architect's firm, and actually I didn't recognize him, but I was looking at. He was the guy who's like the businessman who's talking, and then he's interrupted by the older guy. That I was sitting there looking at him. I was like, "Oh, this isn't Ben, though. I've seen the like promotional stills, but this kid looks a lot like a kid who's grown up, grew up and lost a lot of weight. A former fat kid that
Mm.
that pulled himself up, and like
He's got fat
and
kid
it was.
eyes.
He was a bigger kid in
God,
it. He
his
played
eyes.
young, large Ben, and he's like a good-looking dude now. And I was like, man, I was like, visually, I kind of prefer this guy to who we got, because to Justin's point, or to Rob's point, like it was like Ben was maybe a little too good-looking. He didn't look like a guy who had shed pounds and gotten good-looking to me. He looked like somebody who had been good-looking his whole life.
He was born with a six-pack. Not interesting.
Meanwhile, Brandon Crane over here is looking pretty damn good for having been a fat kid. As a fat kid, I know what this looks like. Okay. All right. Jay Ryan, who played Ben Hanscom, who I just chat talked, he's a clown before his acting career took off. So some insider knowledge for him in this movie. Let's see. Some Stephen King references aside from the very, very egregious cameo. A license plate on the wall above the owner of the antique shop is CQB 241, which is the same license plate that Christine had in 1983. The owner also asked for $300 for the bike, which is the same amount that George LeBay initially offers to sell the car for. So, some Stephen King stuff. Some more Stephen King stuff.
We didn't even talk
Damn it.
about that, really. Like, talking
What's
about
there
him in
to
the
say?
movie. Yeah.
We're about to say the only thing there I have.
He's
to
in
say.
it.
He's in it. He's winks at the camera the whole time. A recurring criticism about Stephen King's novel is his lack of inspiration for endings, even in otherwise well-acclaimed novels. This is often addressed to in the movie where Billy receives the same comments about his books, even from King in person, which, yeah, they rode that train hard. It's like, oh, you have terrible endings. And then they have Stephen King say, no, you have terrible ending. It's like, Stephen, we got it.
You're not Stan Lee over here, okay? Get out of here.
You're still rich.
I love you, Stephen, but my God, we got it the first 3 times the characters talked about it. Stephen. A recurring criticism. No, wait, I just read that one. And I think this is my last one. So in the novel, long story short, there's a cosmic turtle. It tells them how to beat it.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's also in the Dark Tower. So just go with that knowledge. Okay. Marturin the Turtle, one of the gate. It chapter 2. And
say that again, Randy.
One more time. The turtle.
And from the top. Marturin the Turtle, one of the gate guardians of the Dark Tower, is referenced again in It Chapter 2. In the book, Maturin is the one that tells the kids how to perform the Ritual of Chud to kill it. Which, by the way, Ritual of Chud, love it. Ritual of Bud the Chud. That's what they should have called it.
Dude, that is that feels like some real sloppy writing. That sounds like some cocaine. That sounds like some cocaine writing right there.
Real high.
Probably.
Real high.
The Ritual of Chud.
You want to see cocaine, Stephen King? You go to the source with fucking what is that
Cooge?
movie?
Cocaine humanoid underground dwellers.
What the fuck is that movie?
It's called The Cooge.
Oh my God.
The Cooge. I don't know what you're looking for, Randy. What are you?
I'm gonna
Creep Show.
He directed Maximum Overdrive. It's the only movie he ever directed. He was famously deep in the coke at that time, and many people got hurt on set because of that.
Damn.
He's still rich.
And he made his amends. Apparently, people are okay with it.
I mean, he made the Cooge, so
the Cooge.
It's Cooge.
Oh my gosh.
The Cujo.
He's trying to talk about another movie. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into our voicemail segment.
Whoa, Bob.
Hotline screen.
Bob.
What?
Just skip over the Cooter profile like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess there probably is a Cooter, I guess.
Come on now.
Let's really quickly determine the Cooter level and just roll through, because the Cooter is not going to be a high ranking one, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Who's y'all's Cooter? Cooter McGraw?
He's not in it that much, but I still think it's Bev's dad. Fuck him.
Yeah, Bev's dad. Yeah, I guess he's in it a scotch. And then Bowers, too. You could do Bowers.
Yeah, he's just a murderer.
An insane murderer.
Well, he does give what's his name a lot of shit for being homosexual.
Does he? Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
As a child.
When they flash back.
But yeah, back and forth.
That's true. I mean, being a bully and being a Cooter, though, are not necessarily the same. The mullet is definitely a tire level.
Yeah, and he's got that busted-ass tank top. Ooh.
He doesn't do a lot of sexual deviant stuff in these movies, as far as I can recall. I don't remember.
I guess he can't manipulate anybody. He's just not in this movie a lot, I guess. I feel like he could be a good Cooter. Yeah, if they'd used him.
He's not really, though. I don't think. I don't really have a vote for anyone. Nobody really stands out
for me. Or Eddie's mom.
No, Bev's husband at the beginning.
Bev's husband, yeah. He's a stand-in for her dad, so it's the same thing.
Yeah.
He's abusive for sure, and
he manipulates her because at first he's like, "Yeah, of course it's okay. You can go. Where are you going to see, or what are you going to do?" God, that dude's a huge piece of shit.
In the same way, though, you could say the same thing about Eddie's mom. Eddie's mom is crazy manipulative with the placebo shit. She looks insane with her fucking tracksuit on.
At least Bev's husband is more probably like sexual deviant because he tries to beat her, but it definitely seems like more of a sex because he's got that painting of her, and like when she's like leaving the house, there's
Yeah.
like this painting
Yeah.
of them where she's like totally like like in this weird subservient like pose. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird
When
scene.
he does, actually, her dad does in this. Is it this movie where he sprays her with a bunch of cologne?
Yeah.
That is
I think
weird.
I think that's a pretty cooter move. So I'll give it to him.
Bev's just hanging with the cooters. Watch out, Ben.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
She doesn't know what it's like to not be with a cooter. You might want
Yeah.
to like just play some
Ooh.
ground rules for her.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Bob, try to
She knows how to pick them.
All right,
Knows how to fix
cooter
that.
down.
skip the segments over here.
Oh my gosh. I got excited because we have 4 voicemails this week we got to get through.
Oh, lordy.
If you yourself would like to call and leave us a voicemail, you can reach us at 904-638-3231. So first up, we're going to go ahead and hear from Justin. And not you, Soju, a different Justin. Let's see what Justin has to say.
There's only one, Justin.
What? Wait, which one is this?
It's the one that says, "Hey guys, this is Justin. Really big fan of the show."
Okay.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Justin. It's always good to hear from people.
Thank you for being people who talk to us.
Just good to hear from some folks. Yeah, I think
I thought about
just
that.
based on like the trailer and how you see like photographs of Pennywise, and he looks like a normal human being. But then like when you see the ending of the movie, he's definitely like a big old space alien in
Yeah.
the world. It's like-
It's really just that one scene with the grandma or whatever where
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, it's my father," but then that's easily like thrown out the window once she goes outside and you realize like, "Oh, there's actually not anybody there. It's an old decrepit
Right.
building. Nobody actually
yeah,
lives
all
there."
that was fabricated
They could
for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have gone with that a little bit, or just made it like known that. I don't know. I'm glad that when I first saw that happening, I was like, they're not gonna retcon this character, because actually when I saw it in the trailers, the face, the him putting on the makeup, I thought that was gonna be like a flash for Stan, like, because I knew Stan was gonna obviously commit suicide. It's been part of the story. I thought maybe that was Stan, like a vision it was playing of Stan, like getting it makeup on, indicating that he got fucked over.
Mm.
But I was wrong about that, and I kind of like I kind of like that as like it's like a microcosm. That trailer is like its own short, like its own
Yeah.
mini,
Yeah.
Totally.
like own mini parable. I like it for that reason.
I wish like I would have been fine if they used more of like Skarsgård and like just
Me too.
like just as a regular person. That would have been fine. But I don't necessarily want them to have made him a person or whatever.
I don't either. No, I'm glad that it was just like a scare tactic, because it works as a
Yeah.
scare tactic, but it doesn't work narratively at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have enjoyed more just like intimate one-on-one sort of like Skarsgård acting creepily and less like,
True,
I'm
yeah.
a big crazy CG thing happening here.
Now he's
'Cause
Bill
he's-
Cosby.
Yeah, I don't know why I rolled in.
Bob with the impressions.
Another monster
Hey!
worth talking about, but
That's
not
why
today.
you keep me around.
On point.
My
Skarsgård's
name's
just-
Pennywise, and I'll give you a
You kids want some pudding pots?
Oh, I'm gonna drown you in some pudding.
That's the best accordion music I ever heard.
Anywho,
To drown you kids. in some-
You know, we all float.
you can't float in pudding.
This is a great segment. Bill Cosby reviews it. Let's read before the whole episode. Bill Cosby.
Yeah, I'm on the
Just saying the word pudding with an extreme affectation is all it takes.
Oh shit!
Direction.
Damn.
Woo!
That's my it. That's what I want.
That's my
The real it was the friends we made along the way.
Oh man. Well, that was one hell of a tangent. Anyways, we got 3 more voicemails here. The next one up, we're gonna hear from Miles. Let's see what Miles has to say.
Oh. That's a tough
Hey,
question.
Miles. Thanks for calling. I just real quick want to recognize that this Miles is the same Miles that caused all of us to watch Vampire's Kiss. So
Oh,
big
thank
thanks.
you.
Big hero around these parts for sure.
North Carolina, go ahead and raise up. Take your shirt off.
I got a few things to say
Swing
here.
around your
First of all,
head
Miles,
like a helicopter.
let me just go ahead and put this out there before we get to talking about the rest of Miles' stuff. If anybody wants to send voicemails with or trivia and just prevent me from having to look it up, I would highly encourage that. Please send your trivia to us.
Nobody just do Randy's job.
I'm outsourcing
Also,
my
it
job.
would be
to
a
all of
week
you good
late
people.
every time.
No, that's
well,
fine.
if we announce the
What do
movie
we
ahead of
care?
time, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work out the logistics. Dude, if they had made a Godzilla movie with Jamie Lee Curtis and Bruce Campbell,
Oh,
that would have
Lord.
somehow been better than the Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
Dude,
Somehow,
honestly,
it would have
I would-
somehow been better. I don't know how, but it would have been.
Would have been as good as the Fanatic. Honestly, I would watch any movie that had Bruce Campbell opposite Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of wish they made a sequel to, and maybe they still will. I kind of wish they made a sequel to the Evil Dead remake or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
they-
maybe that's.
I feel
still
like
a thing.
they are going to.
I feel like it's something that like they've said, but I feel like it should have been done by now, and so
I
it
think so,
probably
too.
never will.
It's like it's almost to the point where like if they announce it in the next month or something, it might be okay. But its freshness date, you're going back to the well kind of late, and that's when it starts becoming extra risky.
It's
extra risky.
2013,
Well,
Bob.
let's just think about what we're saying here for a second. Like, so Army of Darkness sat out in the world for how long before they came back with an Ash vs. Evil Dead and made like a TV show? Like, there's a
That's
lot
true.
of time in between this shit. It doesn't
That's
have
true,
to
but
make a whole lot of
there's like-
sense for
there's
Sam
like a
Raimi to do
weird-
it.
there's
No,
an
but I'm just talking about
inverted-
for like
there's an inverted bell
marketability.
curve
Like,
of this, where it's
Yeah,
like
but they still made 3 seasons of a show. Like shit happens. It's
Actually,
been
there's
10
not-
years since Zombieland came out, and now they're making Zombieland.
yeah,
And I don't
see
really
that
give a
as-
shit
I don't think
about
that makes
it.
sense to me.
I know, but they're still doing
Yeah.
it. Is what I'm
Well,
saying.
Okay,
like,
well, yeah.
Okay.
Whether it could happen and whether or not it makes sense to me are two different things, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
feel like
there's
it should have
no-
been done like 2 to 3 years after the
right.
movies.
It's if it's too soon after the first movie comes out, the sequel stands a good chance of suffering. If it's too long, it also stands a good chance of
Yeah.
suffering. There's like a sweet spot you want to hit. I don't know.
Speaking of sweet spots, is there any project that you guys wish had been made that wasn't?
I was just
mean,
talking about that,
Juice-
Bob. That's literally what I was talking about.
I mean, that's
Oh, the
probably
passive
gonna
aggression
happen.
episode.
It's gonna happen.
My God.
I don't actually. I can't think of any. Halloween 6, like that made me think that like I kind of some dark fucked up part of me wants to see how the Cult of Thorn story would have resolved itself, if at all.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any other than that. I'm having trouble.
I
coming up
wish
with
I
one.
wish they would have like continued on like what they intended for Halloween, like with when they did Halloween 3 or whatever. Like, oh, we're just gonna make it like a series, a
like
bunch
the-
of like
yeah,
anthologies or whatever. That would have been cool. Or even, I really wish we got the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween 3, which was rumored to be coming out with the success of
season-
Halloween 1 and 2.
I the huge.
I don't want that.
I don't really want. There's
I
a morbid
don't.
curiosity. There's a morbid curiosity for me. I kind of want to see what he would have done with a non-Michael Myers situation.
I
also wasn't-
clearly don't want that. That's clear.
No.
I'm curious
There-
about it.
There's the Friday the 13th franchise is all locked up in lawsuits or whatever, but there's been a lot of talk about actually like setting one in the winter time. Like I want to see Jason
okay.
just laying waste to people in the snow, which maybe we'll get eventually.
Actually, that was a good
Pretty
idea.
cool.
And also, since I was a kid, I wanted there to be another Freddy versus Jason where they throw in like I don't know, a couple of other slashers. I like that
pretty
movie a
cool.
lot.
Yeah.
Like Ash.
I wish
Throw Ash in
I
there.
always thought that like you threw Ash in there and then like Chucky just as a wild card. Like it'd be fun as
That'd be
fuck.
kind of cool. Well, yeah, I'd be down with that. Jason.
Fun.
Like those are
or
low.
Freddy versus
That's-
Jason.
there's low overhead
Fun
for
enough.
like there's not. You don't need to. Those movies don't need to be taken so very seriously. So there's not a whole lot of risk in making them to me.
I really wish they would have made that Ghost sequel that they were talking about for so long.
Oh my God.
What is it?
I do
Ghost 2, The Righteous Brothers Return.
keep ghosting. Been ghosted. I wish Del Toro did direct the
You in
sequel
danger,
to
girl.
Pacific Rim because it wouldn't have sucked then.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I feel you.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I feel like
Actually, yeah. And then he was. I mean, anything Del Toro that is rumored, he's always rumored to do like
Oh,
20
yeah, he
things.
is.
So just Del Toro's
He's always
rumor.
talking.
Ghost Lion. Beetlejuice
Just
Ghost
talk
Lion
him.
would have been fun.
I'm
And
looking at
probably
like my
terrible.
wall.
Would have been terrible. But yeah, we got a couple more voicemails here. This next one up is from Michael. Let's go ahead and hear what Michael has to say.
Michael.
Damn.
Wait, this is from G Baby. I don't have one from Michael. Y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, you're right. I think I just fucked up. No, you're right. It's totally G baby.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Hey.
Dang it.
You're wrong, Bob.
Oh no. Oh, I don't particularly love hearing ourselves our stuff out of context. Those particular
No.
lines out of context. We sound like
No.
monsters.
Nah, that's all
And by the
good.
way, that was our buddy Jim.
Yeah,
Jim G,
not
baby.
Michael.
Need to correct. Rob is fucking up.
Rob. I immediately
Sometimes I
had to correct
make
Rob.
mistakes.
I did enjoy quite a lot the reading in the text in the speech to text. I know when that hotline scream, that can only mean I'm about to cream. I think that's great. Written down. It's fabulous.
I think
We certainly live in a world, don't we, boys?
Certainly put that shit on a shirt.
yeah.
Somebody else.
I sure do carry this cast, don't I, boys?
Oh,
Totally. Talking about jizzing and yabos and
thank you for bringing all the jizz jokes that we
Really.
neglected to bring to the table.
We're
I
an
sure do
elevated
throw you
show.
guys on my back and carry you to the top.
Man, carry us
We're
up to
real
Jizz
elevated.
Mountain, buddy.
Oh, Yogurt Mountain over here. Yogurt Stains.
That and Bob's impressions, that's what really set us apart.
Oh man, it's the Puddin' Mountain. Tapioca Puddin' Mountain with the jizzing.
There's always room for jizzing. Right?
God.
Right?
Jerry
I don't
Lewis in
know.
that maybe.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm workshopping. Well, thanks for calling, G baby. Always good to hear from you. We got one more. Let's go ahead and hear what Corey has to say. Here we go.
Hey, hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, Corey. Thanks for calling, man. Always good to hear from you. I love the Randall Gandil G Landel reference.
You think you love it? Feel these nipples. Stole
my
that
tongue
from
or what?
a great movie called Basketbball.
That movie is incredible. Yeah, I don't know if there's really too much to the references in the movie. Obviously, like the reference to The Shining is it's another Stephen King property, so I don't know if there's like much going on there. Like the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 on the marquee It's just probably the time that the movie came out, in real life.
They had some others on that marquee too. Also, another horror movie that was referenced in this one was at the old marquee or the old movie theater, and when it's in the present day, there's the famous horror movie You've Got Mail poster on the wall.
Whoa.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Oof.
I saw a thing that said the kid's skateboard, the kid that gets eaten in the house of whatever, the mirrors, his skateboard had the pattern of the shining carpet on it.
Did it?
Oh, cool.
I forgot all about the Here's Johnny thing. That was so quick. And I mean,
yeah,
that's
it was kind of awkward. Yeah.
But at the same time, at that point, we'd already seen Stephen King for like 7 straight minutes or some shit. I'm like, at least this one's quick.
That whole segment with Stephen King too, I just wasn't really about that whole segment.
I mean, it was fine. It was just a little self-serving, maybe.
He's old, man. He's getting up there. I hope he doesn't die or anything.
Well, he will, Bob. You're gonna be disappointed.
He's an eternal.
Damn it! Hey, can't rich people freeze their souls?
I hope he doesn't.
Walt Disney couldn't figure it out. I'm sorry to say.
Well, Bob,
Bill Cosby's on it now.
Too bad. The only way you're gonna not be disappointed is if you die first and don't know.
In a pudding pot.
He can he can put his body in pudding, right? And then that'll preserve him.
I'm gonna freeze him in the pudding pot.
Oh man, we gotta get off this.
We sure do.
Get off this. Yeah, Corey's asking about some slasher movies, top 3 slasher movies. What do you guys think, Randy? You got a few?
Don't start with me.
Oh, Juice, you got a few?
I would think some to recommend would be ones that it's easy to look up what are some good slashers, and you're gonna get Texas Chainsaw and Friday the 13th and what blah blah blah. But there's some that we enjoy as a group that would be worth your time to check out. What's the one, Bob, where they're in the supermarket?
Intruder.
Oh, Intruder.
Yeah. Intruder was good. And what's the Thanksgiving one that's shot in Jacksonville? That one's really good.
Blood Rage.
I don't know the name of anything. And the Christmas movie that we love.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Black Christmas.
Well, not Black Christmas.
No, it's
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
From Silent Night, Deadly Night. The Billies.
Yeah, definitely. Since Corey is a Jacksonville native, you got to check out Blood Rage. It was filmed in Jacksonville.
Watch it on Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving, and then
cranberry sauce.
That Christmas movie that we watched last year was really good.
Yeah.
Where the guy pretends to be Santa Claus.
Is that
Christmas Evil?
Oh, Christmas Evil. Yeah, you're right.
That one was good.
There's another one that's I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Santa Sled.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown was all right. I'm looking through a list because I couldn't come up with them on my own. I have to literally get a sheet here.
So
I have to just describe them to Bob.
I know, Corey's not a big horror movie dude, but if you're looking for some bigger ones, like big name top 3, all time for me, I got to go Black Christmas, Halloween, Sleepaway Camp. But some lesser known ones, Juice already mentioned The Intruder. I freaking love that movie.
Terror Train.
The Initiation is a good one. Yeah, Terror Train's good. House on Sorority Row is a good one. The original My Bloody Valentine is freaking great. Final Exam is another one that's a little off the beaten path there.
I know what you did last summer.
And I still know what you did last summer. The Gordon's Fisherman is terrifying.
And if you somehow haven't seen Scream, definitely watch Scream.
But make sure you watch Scream 3 first, because that's the
Do not listen to Justin.
Candyman. I forgot all about Candyman.
Oh, yeah, Candyman. Candyman can because he mixes it with love.
Makes the word taste good. Oh,
God.
It's getting less and less
over
here.
We got to get off of this.
Oh,
my God.
Pudding pot.
We're really hurting our reputation, guys. We need to talk about.
Man, I think we just need a hug. We need to hug it out.
If I could tell you guys how many conversations I've had with Bob about our damn reputation.
That's not remotely true, man. Just to be very clear. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to go with Norman Bates and get us back on track. Norman Bates.
Yeah.
That's one.
Oh my God. All right. We got to wrap this up, though. We got one more segment we got to talk about.
Jeez.
We do. Yeah, that's a good 15 or 20
Yeah, now that
slashes.
we've all made
Corey.
up, let's make fun of Rob relentlessly with our last segment.
Take it away, Justin. There's only one thing left to do.
There's one thing left to do. Let's talk Blu-rays and jet skis. We're talking intervention here. How to save a life, Bob's wallet life.
Wallet.
Bob, we have been tracking your DVD purchases. I'm sorry, your Blu-ray purchases over the past few months. We've now covered June, July, and
I see
August.
stacks forming in the video.
All in the double digits. We are trying to see, Bob, had you just saved your money this year, could you have purchased a jet ski? So this is the first week of September. So we're starting with a clean slate, 0, which I feel like is about to get crushed. That's about to be completely diminished. Bob, how many Blu-rays, etc., have you purchased so far in the month of September, which has consisted of 8 days?
So here goes the stack on YouTube, but the number is going to be 8.
God damn. The standby. Oh, you went hard into the Stephen King a little. Well, not that hard, I guess.
Yeah, a little.
Stand By Me. Casper. There we go. You didn't have Casper?
I didn't have Casper. Casper. No, so I got.
Is that another Devon Sawa?
Yeah, I got the 90s Casper. I got Stephen King's Cat's Eye, which I've never seen before. The Girl in the Spider's Web. The Hills Have Eyes unrated collection, which is just 2 movies. Stand By Me, Fighting with My Family, and The Lords of Salem on Steelbook. So
Stand By Me. Imagine
Wait, Rob Zombie, Lords of Salem?
Yeah, it was like super cheap, and that's kind of the one that I like that he's made.
Yeah, only $45.
Shade.
Yeah,
I
gave them $3,000 for it. You know, super cheap.
Such a bargain. All right, so you said the count is 8, Bob? 8 total?
Well, I mean, Fighting with My Family and Stand By Me, those aren't really 4. Neither's Girl in the Spider's Web or Casper, really, to be honest. But
Bob, we're counting Casper.
Right.
Dude, I think we're being too generous with what we don't count. You buying a lot of shit, bro. That jet ski is calling. Just because it ain't Lords of Salem that's putting you over the edge, keeping you from your dream of owning a jet ski, doesn't mean that it doesn't count.
Wait, Girl in the Spider's Web, is that the one, like the Dragon Tattoo sequel? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like it's
kind of a thriller, right?
The franchise.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's boring as shit, apparently.
It sucks because those books are really good.
Yeah. I like the first one with Daniel Craig, and then they shit-canned it and tried to start the series over again, and it's just not as good.
That sucks.
They didn't have the original was Fincher, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Well, there you go.
I think well, I haven't seen that movie in particular, but that deals with like some dark elements, and it's kind of a thriller. I don't know how this movie handles some things, but and what was the what do you not want us to count, Bob? Jesus Christ.
Definitely. I mean, Fighting with My Family is just a comedy. Just call it 7. I don't care. Just
7.
Whatever. It's not that important.
So, Bob, you've hit double digits every month so far. You have not hit over 20 yet, though. You're always laying in the teens. You think it's spooky season, though.
Laying in the teens. That is Rob. That's Rob all over, baby.
Have you got a lot on the wish list, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, so this month and next month, like for spooky season, there's just so much stuff coming out, and it's a lot of good stuff, and I've pre-ordered all of it. So
if you hit 30, I will be so
no,
happy.
it will not be that high. That's insane. Not that much.
It's gonna be 29. It's gonna be 29, but after this conversation, he's gonna feel observed.
Yeah.
I have felt seen for months, and I'm just dealing with it.
Spooky season's upon us. Bob's got all his pre-orders in. He says he's not going to hit 30, but will he hit 30? Probably. Most likely.
Probably 30.
I mean, probably not. But also,
we're going to start counting each individual disc.
Bob.
Oh my God!
That Blade
and the Blu-ray in it.
That Blade trilogy is really gonna hit you. You know.
God help you if you get one of those ultraviolet movies that comes in digital as well.
You can't count that.
This
It's
is
not
our
even real, man.
this is our
Can't
last
tell us how to shame
episode.
you, Rob.
It's not
To
even
be
real.
purpose.
This is our last episode. These relationships just can't keep up like this.
Boy. I just can't handle
Hanging
you
by a
guys.
damn thread. So hostile.
You guys
So
are
much
just sloppy
hostility.
bitches.
Oh, that's it. I think that's enough public shame for
plenty.
me.
Of everything.
Bob, you're gonna
Yeah.
get that jet ski. I feel
You're
confident.
gonna get that
Dude.
jet ski back.
You're gonna end up on GoFundMe begging people for a fucking jet ski because you blew all your money on Jaws sequels.
Let's make a deal, Bob. If you actually do hit the jet ski numbers,
Whatever that is.
yeah,
I'm gonna find the cheapest one I can on Craigslist.
you
Free
should.
for a move.
You
You can
should.
find one that's just free. You gotta pick it up, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, the
Can you,
Craigslist.
Bob?
You've already lost a jet ski, Rob.
Then
Damn.
you gotta sell
Build
off your
raccoons with
Blu-rays to buy a special straight chillin' jet ski. All right.
Why would I buy it? I don't want a jet ski. I don't
No.
want one.
Rob,
Bob.
this denial has to stop.
Bob, next time our hurricane hits and we're flooded, you could just cruise down the street.
I would love to see somebody in a hurricane.
Yeah, we'll-
I'm gonna
flood.
drive my jet ski into the fucking eye of a hurricane. Fuck you, Dorian. I got this straight chillin' jet
This
ski.
is Jacksonville, Florida, Dorian. We're gonna
I'm gonna-
jet ski our asses out of here.
I'm gonna
Randy's,
shoot my shotgun in your eye, Dorian, from a jet
Randy's
Jet ski
got-
down to the movie theater, get some popcorn.
Randy's gonna make some sweet decals for you. Okay.
That's true.
decal.
My other DVD is a jet ski.
What show is this? I don't even know where I am.
My other jet ski's a DVD. I think you mean.
No. That would require ownership of a jet ski.
My other Blu-rays of 4K.
Which we know is not in the
Yeah, region free, bitch. Oh man,
Oh, where we're going, we don't need regions.
we don't need jet skis.
That's a better joke.
It's
We're going to
called
Idaho.
international waters. They're in our fucking jet skis.
This is getting out of hand.
Woo! Yeah, that is it. That is it for us this week at Straight Chilling. We're gonna be back next week. We got a brand new show coming at you. It's gonna be a Patreon pick. We're gonna be talking about the Curse of the Screaming Dead, also known as the Curse of the Cannibal Confederates, which was chosen by Michael. This is
Is
a
that
trauma
off the-
movie.
Is that off the new line, or are we on last season?
No, this is still last season. So the new picks, we're gonna talk about them October, November, and December.
Gotcha.
So this is still from last round of picks. I think this is our last one. I'm pretty sure. From the last round of picks. So this is a trauma movie. I don't know anything about it. Last I looked, it's on Amazon Prime, streaming on Amazon Prime for free, so you can check it out there if
We've
if
never
you're
done
looking
any
to find it.
trauma, right? Yeah, I was just thinking that, Randy.
Yeah, I think this is our first trauma movie. Yeah.
Oh boy.
There we
This is
go.
where our cred is made or broken.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is where we solidify our identity within horror fandom.
Yeah, going in. But yeah, so until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. We're on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join us on our Slack channel, let me know via any of those social media platforms, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. We talk about the movie of the week, talk about TV shows, music, video games, spooky season stuff. Check out Justin playing video games on Twitch, or just join us and play some Twitch tomorrow night. It'll be fun.
Let's play some Twitch.
That's Twitch.
You are your
Let's
mother's
Twitch.
son. You boys gonna play Twitch tonight?
You gone twitching?
You boys gonna watch Shining tonight? You gonna go? I don't know. I'm getting shit wrong. It's great.
You're getting my mom getting stuff wrong.
Chimpanzee Outer Space is the go-to, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite.
Oh, I love
It's
my mom.
Inception of getting it wrong.
It's true. It's so okay. That's it. Until next
This is
week,
like a
as
12
always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Now, hold on. I have 12 more things to say.